What's up guys, my name is Timbo and welcome back to some more juicy, spicy Destiny content. A few weeks ago I made a video on the Destiny 1 exotic weapons that are not in Destiny 2. I prefaced at the beginning of that video that it may soon become outdated, and as of a couple days ago, depending on when you're watching this, that time has come. The exotic pulse rifle Bad Juju has been brought back into Destiny via a relatively short and easy questline, given that you have too many materials that you know what to do with. At first I was a little bit nervous, looking at the crazy high prices to obtain 18 of these triumphs, but I have to admit it was pretty nice and relaxing for the OCD side of me to finally have a reason to get rid of those hundreds of shaders and legendaries I'm never going to use sitting in my vault. The mission itself is nowhere near as easy as people made it out to be. I did it solo and I know I come off as a pretty chill dude, but I kid you not, I just about lost it a couple of times with the Shadow War Beasts and Shriekers. Okay, I died a lot. Luckily you can respawn throughout the entire mission, so it's basically idiot proof. You don't really need thumbs to complete it, not gonna lie. What you're going to be seeing and have been seeing on the internet are hundreds of videos on how to get Bad Juju being used in the Crucible, and Bad Juju reviews. If you know me, that's just not how we roll. The weapon Bad Juju and a lot of Destiny's exotic weapons have really cool and interesting stories behind their creation. The story of Bad Juju is not a new one, but it's one that probably hasn't been told in a long time. Plus it's updated now, so now is a good time to do it. For some of you this video will serve as a refresher, but I'm willing to bet there's a lot of you out there that don't really know who Toland is, despite his name and even voice popping up from time to time in game. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving you the guidelines, outline, whatever you want to call it, of how Bad Juju came to be made. Who made it, why they made it, the meaning behind the exotic perks, all that stuff. It's nothing crazy that's gonna blow your mind, but it will certainly add more context and personality to the weapon when you're shooting those aliens in the face. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The story of Bad Juju begins with its creator, a human warlock named Toland. There's not a ton of noteworthy things about Toland's early life, as the story pretty much picks up with him relentlessly studying the darkness, an obsession of sorts that caused him to be exiled from the last city. Something pretty common in the Destiny franchises. There's a lot of people that get kicked out of that place. Vanguard really don't like it when someone snoops around researching dark powers and evil alien races. This event is what caused him to be known by the name as you see it now, Toland, the Shattered One. On one end, you've been kicked out of your home, but at the same time, you get a super awesome sounding last name. So not all bad, if you ask me. But I'm just one guy, just have one opinion. So. During his time away, Toland continued his research into the darkness, eventually concluding that the darkness was the evolutionary endpoint of the universe, and that its campaign of destruction was to ensure that nothing could ever rise up to challenge it. Over time, Toland apparently fell into madness, growing to be an expert of the Forbidden Hive rituals, particularly the death song of Ironside. It's for this reason that years after Toland's exile in the aftermath of the Great Disaster, a battle fought between thousands of Guardians and Hive to take control over the moon, that Toland had some visitors. These visitors were Warlock Ariana III and most notably, Eris Morn. If you play Destiny 1 and more specifically the Dark Below expansion, you know where this is going, and it's nowhere good. The two were seeking a way to destroy the Hive Prince Crota. Toland, being the one who did his homework in the group, revealed to them that Crota could be killed if they were to enter the Ascended Realm and slay him within his throne room after defeating his champions. Despite this, Toland still didn't think it was the greatest idea in the world, warning them of the many dangers they would face, including the mysterious song sung by the Death Singers that he wished to understand. Eris and Ariana were like, "Nah, don't worry about it, man. I got Gallahorn. Crota isn't even a raid, he's basically a strike. We got this, dude." So in the end, Toland decided to join them in their quest in order to learn more about the Hive, aka for science. And they recruited 3 other Guardians to their mission. As they prepared for what lied ahead, Toland imparted what he knew about the Hive to Eris, such as his knowledge about ogres known as the Might of Crota, which would be unleashed when Crota's will was challenged. Eris questioned how he came to this knowledge, and Toland claimed to have learned it from the darkness itself. Spooky. Toland's fascination led him to attempt to identify himself as a friend to a Death Singer. As you can expect, that turned out just fine and dandy. Just kidding, he freaking died. Or so people thought. As the story goes, Eris was the only one out of the 6 fireteam members that came out alive, leaving Toland along with the others to be presumed dead. However, unlike the other members of the fireteam, his fate was never witnessed by anyone else. This leads us to what happened to Toland, as well as what all of this has to do with the Bad Juju. Years later, remnants of Toland's journal are found across the solar system, including instructions, memoirs, ramblings, a link to his up-and-coming merch store. You name it, it was there. This was all pretty taboo for the time. As I mentioned before, Toland needed to communicate with the darkness to get some of this information. But the Vanguard wanted to collect all of the journal fragments anyway. It's believed that Toland perhaps always intended for the journal to be found one day, but that's just a guess some people have. After finding all the pieces, it's found out that the journal is encrypted, as all cool science fiction things are. Ikora Rey is able to crack the code with the help of her ghost, and upon finding other things, a schematic for a powerful weapon is discovered. After looking at the schematic, it becomes pretty obvious that Toland crafted this after going completely cuckoo, as the thing defies all reason and logic. But Guardians sure do love shooting those aliens in the face, so the schematic was taken to the gunsmith. The gunsmith warned the Guardian that the path they were about to go down is quite a slippery slope, and that it's going to take a lot of perseverance to wield the madness that consumed Toland. During the process of putting the weapon together, it becomes apparent that the weapon has an uncontrollable hunger, desiring to feed on everything. Light, darkness, Vex milk, those nasty hive larvae, Cade's ramen, you name it. This goes to explain the description of the weapon that reads, "If you believe your weapon wants to murder all of existence, then so it will." And this gets into what drives this hunger in the Bad Juju, explaining the super energy, the string of curses, the auto-reloading after a kill, all of that stuff. Many think it comes from the darkness, some people think Bad Juju is a weapon of sorrow, but most likely, Toland was tapping into the sword logic. If you're unfamiliar, the sword logic is basically the Hive's religion, which believes that whatever cannot protect itself from defeat should rightfully be destroyed by a more powerful entity. It's an endless cycle of a more powerful being sucking the power out of a weaker being. It's like survival of the fittest on steroids. For more information on the sword logic, you can check out my video on the Hive, which will be linked to this video. But hopefully that little overview makes sense. Just like a Hive's worm, the Bad Juju is constantly looking to be fed by destruction. With every kill, it keeps feeding itself ammo and grows stronger and stronger. A lot of the other stuff, such as why it has the body of a scout rifle and the Ahamkara head, is pretty ambiguous and unknown, just due to Toland's crazy and mysterious ways, I guess. And this leads us back to Toland and the Destiny 2 version of Bad Juju, which will wrap up this video. It was believed and now pretty much confirmed that while the Death Singer's song destroyed Toland's body, his consciousness survived in the Ascendant Realm. Toland watched the Guardians' progress in the war against Oryx, regarding their victories as an extension of how the Hive rule through the sword logic. However, he was infuriated when the Guardians defeated Oryx but refused to take up the mantle as the new Taken King. It's possible the reason Toland was so upset about this was that he himself became a firm believer in the sword logic and the nature of the strongest ruling. With the Guardians leaving Oryx's throne vacant, it was obvious that Toland felt the Guardians squandered the chance to take Oryx's place, and more so than that, that the sword logic failed and was now broken. Sucks to suck, my dude. Though the sword logic was broken, Toland still journeys through the parts of the Ascendant Realm between throne worlds, and he even apparently has his own little crib. This now finally brings us to the Crown of Sorrows. After Galron, the Sorrow Bearer, or the Crown of Sorrow raid boss, whatever you want to call him, went insane, the ensuing Hive corruption tore part of the Leviathan between normal space and the Ascendant Realm. Emperor Callus located Bad Juju sometime after this, hoping to lure out Toland, unaware that his physical form had been destroyed. That silly space turtle. A month later, the Guardian discovered the place aboard the Leviathan where Callus had left Bad Juju, whose Ahamkara essence had gone out of control and affected the distorted parts of the ship. Within the Ascendant Leviathan, Toland traveled to the epicenter of the rampaging essence, where a crew of loyalist Cabal was engaged in a deadlock against Taken, which apparently originated from the Hellmouth for the purposes of taunting the Cabal for tampering with his keepsake. All of the Taken and Loyalists in the realm were eventually slain, and their deaths were used to seal the Ahamkara essence back into Bad Juju, restoring it and leaving the Guardian to claim it for themselves. After this, Toland ominously warned the Guardian of threats superior to the likes of the Hive's strongest individuals. Once again, pretty spooky stuff. And with that, the story behind Toland the Shattered and his creation Bad Juju are all but wrapped up. If you enjoyed this video, if you could please leave a like. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.